So, welcome, hello and welcome to the very last session of the conference. I heard some people saying, I'm getting tired. But there will be food later on, energy will come, but before we fill our stomach with the dinner, we fill our hunger for information now during the next hour, and that's the main reason to be here, I guess. I'm convinced that the next 60 minutes and the topics and our guests will offer a fantastic buffet from antipasti to starter to main course and dessert regarding the topic that what we are discussing about. It's attracting longer stays at destinations. So in detail, the invitation said, encouraging longer stays and off-season visits enables destinations to tap into slow travel customers that participate in activities beyond the usual things to-do list. So this helps diversify and disperse benefits from visitors and also mitigates issues of over-tourism. Our 4 experts from different parts of the world, but from the field of tourism, will share their insights on how destination can optimize their appeal to encourage longer and more sustainable visits. The structure of the session is just like the former one. I will call guest by guest here on stage to have a presentation of 6-7 minutes or so, 4 of them, and later on we will have the Q&A. Again, Slido is live. I would invite you to participate intensively. So remember, for all the ones that are not yet trained GSTC trainers, participate, so to be one of the winners. So, let's get into it. I'm Swiss, I want to be on time. For the first one to come is Leigh Howard. He is Chief Operations Officer at Tourism Fiji. So he had a long way and flight connection problems. So the trip was even longer than expected. And his first thing he told me, the climate and the weather is not so inviting as you are used in Fiji. With a foundational and understanding of business gained through practical experience in the tourism industry, Leigh is a skilled leader with a track record of driving operational success through strategic planning and development. He has facilitated group and leisure travel, managed events, and overseen executive operation. His CV includes jobs like, listen, international travel consultant, groups and cruise manager, conference and incentive manager, operations manager, general manager, and now he is the Chief Operation Officer at Tourism Fiji. So, a broad perspective. You have a lot to say during the next 7 minutes. The floor is yours.
Appreciate the opportunity. I am the entree to everything that's about to unfold, so I'm very excited to be sharing a little bit about the work that Tourism Fiji is doing in this particular space. This topic really resonates with all the work that we've been doing post-pandemic, and over the course of the next 7 or 8 minutes, I'm going to try and condense everything as best as possible to go through and just elaborate some of the key strategies that we have been working. I want to start off firstly by saying that Fiji is a developing country. We are a destination made up of 333 islands, and we have a population of about 900,000 people or so. Tourism makes up the largest portion of our industry. It makes up about 40% of our GDP, and that equates to roughly about $1.5 billion in economic injection to the economy. Of that $1.5 billion, Tourism Fiji gets $10 million in marketing fund to promote Destination Fiji. In 2019, we averaged a length of stay of about 9.6 nights, and our average visit arrival was around about 850,000 people that came to Fiji. We had about 12,000 hotel room inventory in Fiji in 2019, and that has since grown gradually over time. Sorry. I want to put things into perspective in terms of location, just so you get a sense and feel for where we are. And I want to talk about our 3 source markets and why this was quite crucial in us going through a complete overhaul of some of our strategies. So to put things into perspective, we're about 4 hours away from Australia, 3 hours away from New Zealand, 9 3/4 from LA, and of course, 10 or so from Hong Kong and Singapore. Our 3 main source markets are Australia, New Zealand, and North America. And over the years, the way that we've positioned Fiji historically has always been a flop and drop destination. So we've always appealed to the short-haul market of Australia and New Zealand, where you can jump on a plane and arrive into our wonderful white sandy beaches, beautiful sunshine, and our big 5-star hotel complexes. Now, once upon a time, that worked, but in the lead up to the pandemic, what we started to see was a gradual decline in our visitor arrivals. And this had a lot to do with the level of authenticity that we position ourselves in market. So I want to talk a little bit about authenticity and why this was crucial in us in going down the path of repositioning ourselves. So when the pandemic happened, we realized we needed to get out of the starting blocks to ensure that we could be very, very competitive, especially when comparing with other destinations that have deep pockets. We looked at the brand itself as Fiji, and we realized that we needed to get away from this over-commercialization of sun and sea and focus more on our culture, people, and our mana. Mana meaning environment, our resources, and so on. So the first step that was the catalyst of change was a rebrand in our own brand, in our website, and also our brand and logging across the different market segments that we have. On the left-hand side of the slide, I wanted to show this for perspective, that we had a very, very bland brand in market. And then when we shifted, it was a focus on culture, authenticity, our people. And if you look at some of the logo in the left-hand side, there's a lot of homage that we pay to our cultural ancestry in all of our logo and branding right across. The next thing was that we needed to look at how do we come out of the starting blocks to ensure that we were going to, 1, attract slower tourism in a post-pandemic environment. 2, looking at the yield and spend of our visitor arrivals into Fiji. And 3, looking at sustainable growth for the future. So I want to go through those 6 key priorities that we came up during the pandemic to look at all of these aspects that I just explained. And I want to try and go through this as very quickly as possible. So, first key priority for us was looking at how do we sustainably grow demand. And the way that we looked at this was we wanted to market Fiji as a destination for slow tourism by promoting extended stays that allow for deeper exploration and interaction with local culture and environment. We wanted to create special interest travel itineraries that cater to hobbies like bird watching, hiking, and artisanal crafts, encouraging visitors to stay longer and explore more comprehensively. One of the examples of how this worked really, really well for us was the Blue Lane initiative that we had in Fiji during the pandemic. The Blue Lane initiative was born out of necessity and has evolved in a key strategy for sustainable tourism growth in Fiji. By leveraging our waters and our destination and our islands, it encourages yachts and sailboats to explore our diverse islands. It was designed not only to bring tourists back, but also to encourage them to visit multiple islands, therefore meeting one of our KPIs of regional dispersal across our many different island groups, and staying longer and contributing economically to a broader range of local communities. The second key strategy was supporting experience development. We've been developing slow tourism experiences that immerse visitors in the local communities through homestays, cultural workshops, and participatory environmental conservation activities. We've been conducting some training through partners with like Adventure Travel Association in training programs for our local guides and service providers to offer deeply informative and culturally respectful experiences that enrich longer stays. We set up a destination development team post-pandemic whose sole role and responsibility was all about empowering our local owners, Indigenous owners, to tap into the tourism sector, utilizing the untapped land that they had. We have so much vast land that is not being utilized. So we've been working with local owners to have a sense of entrepreneurial spirit and getting into the tourism side. We also allowed them to leverage off our digital resources and our platform, therefore giving them exposure to be able to market their experiences, their product, and their services. The third key strategy was focusing on sustainability. Now, we're on a journey with sustainability and we're quite new in this space. So we had to really look at how do we integrate sustainability as a core component of tourism experiences. And the way that we wanted to position this was to showcase eco-friendly accommodation and activities that minimizes environmental impact and promotes conservation. One of the key trends that we're seeing happening for Fiji, specifically from a post-pandemic environment, is that educational tourism is becoming increasingly popular for Fiji, with universities around the globe seeking destinations that offer practical, real-world experiences in fields like conservation, agro-tourism, and sustainable development. We've been working with a university from out of Melbourne, which is the Monash University, and they've been sending students to Fiji to participate in long-term stay conservation programs. And this trend reflects a shift in academic travel where the focus extends beyond traditional study tours to include hands-on, impactful work that contributes to the host community and aligns with global sustainability goals. The fourth point was shaping the perceptions of Fiji, the power of storytelling. We wanted to utilize storytelling to change the perceptions of Fiji from a short-stay destination to a long-stay destination by highlighting some of our enriching cultural experiences that comes from extended stays. The fifth strategy was promoting the value of tourism, and we wanted to demonstrate the economic benefits of slow tourism, which includes increased spending in local economies and greater support for small businesses and artisans. We wanted to educate our local stakeholders about the advantages of hosting slow tourists, such as sustainable community developments and enhanced cultural exchange. Once again, meeting that regional dispersal that we're trying to aim for across Fiji. Finally, enabling a high-performing and innovative team, high-performing, efficient team, This is really for our industry partners, and we want to train our industry partners to specialize in the needs of slow tourists, focusing on providing personalized, thoughtful service that enhances the visitor's experience over long periods of time. We're also exploring innovative ways to support local experiences, adventure travel, and operators in leveraging off our digital platform so that tourists can navigate their stays, find local events, and connect with community activities, making extended stays more comfortable and engaging. So, in everything that I've shared, what were the results and what have we seen? We've seen a return to an average length of stay from last year, from 9.6 back to 9.7 or so. Visitor spend in terms of dollar is up 112% on 2019, and we saw record visitor arrivals to Fiji of about 930,000 people. From this, what did we learn and what are some of the key takeaways? I want to leave you with three final points, and that is the amazing, compelling story of authenticity, the power of storytelling, and of course, responsible destination stewardship through our four pillars of social responsibility, cultural responsibility, and our economic viability, and our mana, meaning, of course, our environmental resources. I want to share this last quote, ladies and gentlemen. It's from our CEO, and he spoke at a recent university seminar where he said, "As we plan for the future, Fiji is aiming to change how we think about tourism. We want to focus on quality experiences where visitors stay longer and really connect with our culture and communities. By promoting slower tourism, we help our environment and our local communities thrive, keeping Fiji beautiful and vibrant for the future generation. Longer stays are good for economies and allow for real cultural exchanges beyond benefiting everyone. We're committed to being excellent hosts and maintaining sustainable practices. This way, Fiji is more than just a destination. It's a place where people can come to grow and learn." Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Leigh. Let's go to the second speaker. Arnar Mar Olafsson is the Director General at Icelandic Tourism Board. Arnar's experience include a long list of jobs like Leigh's, but different jobs, such as Managing Director, Lecturer, Director at the Icelandic Tourism Research Center, Assistant Professor and Director of Tourism Department at University, and he's a co-owner at Icelandic Mountain Guides, Director of Marketing, Chief Commercial Officer, and now he's a Director General at Icelandic Tourism Board. This gives him a broad overview, but not only that. Have a look at his name, Arnar Mar, Icelandic. Arnar is an eagle. Mar is a seagull. Flying around, he has the perfect overview. And I'm super proud to have Arnar Mar here on stage because the two of us represent one of the GSTC criteria, which is wildlife. Ursus, the bear. So, Arnar, please, your stage.
Thanks, Urs. Thanks for this nice introduction. So I only have 7 minutes, 6:55, so I'm going to fly over the topic of attracting longer stays at destinations. Thank you for having me. This is my first GSTC conference. What a great conference, lots of very dynamic, great networking, and definitely lots of learning. So I'm going to address this topic, and this is obviously something that we do discuss quite a bit in Iceland, attracting longer stays in the destination of Iceland. I'm going to have this in two parts. I'm just going to give you some related statistics about tourism in Iceland, about our average length of stay, and then how we sort of proactively try to encourage longer stays. Here we have the number of foreign tourists in Iceland and how it has been developing in the past 10 years. As you can see, the years before COVID were quite nuts in a way. We are a small nation with very small budgets in terms of marketing, but we have other ways of getting noticed. Remember the bank crisis in 2007 that in some ways did put us on the map. In 2010 we had a huge volcanic eruption that basically stopped everyone from traveling. And that did definitely have an impact, I guess, on how things happened the year after. COVID years obviously down, but after COVID a very fast-paced development. And we expect this year we're going to, in our forecast from the Icelandic Tourism Board, go above our record year in 2018. The year starts very well. The first 3 months are above the first 3 months last year, but I have a strong suspicion that April might be a little bit down compared to last year. In terms of seasonality, which obviously for us is extremely important, we've had, I have to say, great results in that. And looking at the so-called seasonality ratio, we are down since 2010 from 2.5 to 1.5. And so tourism has definitely become a whole year operation in Iceland. And the average for the Nordic countries in 2019 was 1.8, and in the European Union, 1.6. So we are really happy about this result. And now the big question, the average length of stays. Summer, winter, the blue columns indicate the average overnight stays in winter and as you can see in 2023 it was 5.6 nights, and in the summertime it is 8.1. This is according to the border survey that the Icelandic Tourist Board carries out at the airport when people leave the country, where we ask every day over 30 people, so about 1,000 responses every month, on different aspects of their stay in Iceland and their average length of stay is that included? They're included. And the good thing about this method is that we sort of managed to get all accommodation, because we have both licensed accommodation, then home accommodation, and other accommodation that is not licensed. So Statistics Iceland is another body that does monitor the average length of stay, and there is a little bit lower. Another important thing, and impacting obviously the average length of stay, is where people come from. The US market is obviously important for us, close to 30% of our visitors. The UK market also comes second. The UK market, however, is a very winter-based market, where they sort of become our main market. Short duration of stay, Northern Lights tours, and so on. And then obviously France, Italy, Germany, these are our main markets. And then to the main question, what do we do proactively in order to encourage longer stays in Iceland? I'm sad to say, not much really. It is sort of a secondary effect of what we do in strategic marketing. And it's one of the aspects we look at when we are marketing Iceland as a destination. So these are basically 3 steps. Define your clientele, define your buyers' personas, develop high-value marketing that fits their needs, and then deliver the right marketing. So I'm quickly going to go through this. Time really is flying here. Wow. So we have identified 2 sort of main groups, target groups that we aim for. And amongst other things, these are people that tend to stay longer. The fun-loving globetrotter is rather young people, adventurous people, aim more for the Nordics than the sun. And you can see here on the lower part of the screen, elements that we find important when we are mapping out this clientele. What do they do? What do they want? Nature experience, culture experience, authenticity. They are more service and guidance oriented than the second group we have identified. Other aspects we map out when we are looking at this clientele: type of travelers, how they plan their trips, what they want to experience, and what kind of accommodation they would choose. Second group we are aiming for is the independent explorer. A little bit older, 40 plus. They are all about nature experience, culture experience, and discovery and authenticity. Stay away from traditional travel a little bit, travel often with their friends, small groups, spouse, and so forth. And same thing here. What type of travelers are they? How do they plan their experiences and accommodation? So average length of stay is something that we take into account when we are sort of defining these buyers' personas that we want to aim for. So to sum up, define your clients. We have found it useful to put them sort of on these opposite motivational factors, whether they choose comfort or rough, slow, easy, city, outdoor nature, and so forth, and see sort of where they score, where they are, so we can better deliver our messages to them. Develop the high-value experience. In other words, build the bridge between your experiences, your destination, and the needs and the wants of your target group. And as I said, in the end, deliver the right marketing, adjust your promotion to the media that the audience is using. So this is a little bit the message that I wanted to give you. I don't know if there are any, it's all about strategic marketing. That is how we sort of take into account the average length of stay. But we in Iceland, we are in a little bit of a pickle, so to speak, because all this costs money. And unfortunately, the government pulled back funding for consumer marketing not so long ago. They looked at the first picture I showed you. Why do we need marketing? There are a lot of people coming. And look at it, it's growing. We don't need to market. We, on the other hand, say, and we're trying to explain to them, that marketing is exactly what we need at that time, because it's as you know, it's not about promoting a special deal or package deal or something. We are creating an image. We are trying to have a live conversation or a vivid conversation with our preferred clients, who will not also stay longer and create sort of a more value to us as a destination. So I'm 2 minutes past. Sorry about that, but thanks for your great attention, and I'm happy to answer questions later. Thank you.
Arnar, you're allowed to go over the time because you came here flying without CO2 emissions, I guess. So, let's move forward. Linda Stark represents both Gothenburg, the DMO of Gothenburg, and the West Sweden Tourist Board today, and will share some examples of what they do to encourage longer stays and visits outside the normal peak seasons in West Sweden. So your traveling here was shorter, faster. Linda's CVs includes a couple of aspects. I concentrate on two. She had an engagement for 11 years, good 11 years in the mentioned DMO, as International Trade Relations Manager, and additionally, good 12 years at Visit Sweden. We are all familiar with that brand now. Calculating 11 plus 12 is 23. If you would sit close to her, you would wonder, it's impossible. She's still 29 when looking at her. So, Leigh, don't complain about the weather. It seems to be that the climate and cold weather keeps people young here up in Sweden. So you're the youngest, by the way. Don't complain. Linda, your turn.
Thank you very much, Urs. 23 years, Visit Sweden and West Sweden, and 29. And the weather, we call it the frizzy hair day, so it's just the way it is. Thank you for having me here today. For those of you who are not familiar with West Sweden, it offers 3 different provinces with different landscapes, activities, attractions. Gothenburg is the hub and shines with its culinary and cultural excellence. Bohuslän boasts the vast archipelago and a coastal charm, and then Dalsland is a heaven for outdoor lovers, and Västergötland is very rich in culture and history. We get nearly 11 million guest nights per year, July being the most intensive month, and the share of exports accounts for nearly 30%, with Norway and Germany being the 2 largest markets for us. The average stay in the region is 5 nights in the summertime, and in Gothenburg 1.67. In recent years, we've seen that this 5 nights have grown by 1 night. And how can this be? I'm going to share a couple of examples of how we work to strive towards this. But first of all, I'd like to say that it's very important to us that sustainability is a common thread through all of our communications and developments. We're always aiming for as little environmental impact as possible. We want everything we do to be good both for people who live and people who come to visit, and we like to steer visitors to places and times that aren't already full. And ultimately, we want the benefits to go to the local businesses, so that we have strong and profitable companies that can, for example, afford to take on and keep full-time staff. All this is part of the West Sweden mobilization plan, Stepping Up Sustainability, which now has more than 600 businesses affiliated to it, and almost all of the 49 municipalities in West Sweden. In addition to that, Gothenburg has ranked the world's most sustainable destination in the Global Destination Sustainability Index 7 years in a row. One of the biggest challenges for us is the uneven occupancy over the year. You can clearly see here that July being the most intensive month, The picture is very similar for Gothenburg, with the deviations often, the deviations are often due to major congresses and fairs that are organized during certain times of the year, and also the major international events. But we know that most places can host more visitors for most of the year, and most consistent occupancy levels can provide better conditions for long-term sustainable tourism. I will now give you a couple of examples of what we do to work towards this. And when I say we, I refer to the city of Gothenburg, the region of West Sweden, and also our close collaboration with Visit Sweden. We collaborate with stakeholders at the local destinations to strategize on attracting visitors, aiming to fill unused capacity, and we tailor our efforts to match these periods with potential markets. We also create enticing products and targeted marketing for that. Worth to say is that Sweden's summer vacation periods differ from other countries, giving us capacity to extend the summer season. Different school vacation schedules in other countries offer opportunities for us to target families for a longer period. And by recognizing these differences, we can prolong the seasons and we can fill the gaps between peak periods. For instance, we capitalized on the interest and the capacity to host more visitors to Dalsland in May by focusing on the Dutch school holiday period. We partnered with tour operators to develop awareness of West Sweden and to promote products catering to their target audience. And through collaboration between stakeholders at the destination and with the tour operators, and also with the joint marketing, the destination can now offer attractive range of products that are open during a time of the year that was previously very much closed. And this is an example of a tour operator that we partner with, who now offers a 7-night program divided into 2 different accommodations, bringing new visitors to stakeholders in the area. We find tour operators to be a very effective way to reach new potential visitors, and we select those partners carefully who can work with us to fill capacity during off-peak periods and to prolong the stays in the area. Another example comes from the small town of Alingsås, where one of the hotels needed to increase their occupancy rate during the summer in order to keep their restaurant staff. If they couldn't keep their chef, they couldn't maintain the level of food they wanted to serve. So we met with the hotel and we met with the tourism manager on the destination, and we agreed on a way forward where we wanted to attract visitors who could stay for a minimum of a week. And then it became very clear that private and public actors needed to join hands if they were to maintain and in particularly develop the tourist offer that could attract guests for such a long time. It turned out that several of the operators we contacted saw the potential to combine Alingsås with its offerings together with Gothenburg, the coast, and other nearby destinations. And through the hotel's creativity and its willingness to collaborate with the tour operators, as well as our joint marketing, the result has been fantastic, where new guests now make up for more than the required minimum capacity that the hotel needs in order to operate in the summer. And the chef is still there too, so that's very good. The final example is an effort to encourage visitors and locals in Gothenburg to explore sites just outside the city at times of the year when the attractions and the hotels are in need for more guests. So we selected attractive sites accessible by public transport, and we collaborated on extending opening hours and mutual promotion. Initially, we marketed these sites in range of campaigns, but nowadays we highlight them all year round, especially in the fall, in the winter, in the spring. And one of these destinations is the island of Hönö, which has had strong companies and strong products for a very long time, but they have struggled with visibility and maintaining year-round operations. So businesses on this island, they have had support in the form of business development initiatives and assistance with product development, packaging, and marketing. And cooperation between the island, the city of Gothenburg, us, has been central, and the fundamental idea to add value both for the entrepreneurs, for visitors, and for the residents have shown excellent results, where the destination is now open all year round. So these are my examples here today, but our approach can be applied across the whole region, and longer stays means a higher profitability for the companies. Longer stays also increase more satisfied visitors with a willingness to recommend the destination to family and friends, according to a recent study taken by Gothenburg and Company. So my takeaways to you today is to identify capacity needs and target groups that can travel during the current period, and to develop attractive and accessible offerings. Also to find collaboration partners and channels to reach the audience, and marketing that supports what you do. And collaborate and promote each other on the destination to extend the guest stays. And finally, collaborate between private and public actors of different levels. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Linda. Let's travel a bit further now again. I have my fourth and last guest, Jason Bent, says of himself. I read what he says about himself. Originally from Montreal, my love of the great outdoors has greatly influenced my academic and professional career. Working in Quebec's tourism industry and regional development for over 20 years, my various mandates have enabled me to cover a broad spectrum of activities. My passion for coastal and island environments has led me to travel to the Canadian Arctic, Mexico, Costa Rica, Venezuela, California, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Greece, and Portugal. It's the first time that I'm not frustrated that he has not been in Switzerland so far. We cannot compete with the coastal and sea.
I'm actually going to stop by Zurich next Monday.
Oh, okay, he comes. Okay, I'm happy. So, good to have this on the bucket list as well. So, Jason's CV is dominated by his actual position, where he's working for 18 years now already as a full-time tourism development advisor at the Tourisme Île de la Madeleine organization. And now it's our time to learn from your experience. Where is Île de la Madeleine? I'm a university professor. Exam. Where is Île de la Madeleine? Canada. Where in Canada? Quebec, yeah, of course. You listen carefully. So,
thank you so much for the introduction. Bonjour tout le monde. I'm very delighted to be here this afternoon. It's quite the honor and privilege. I'd like to thank you, GSTC, for the invite. It's been a great 2 days, hasn't it? I mean, it's been really interesting for me to network and meet many of you in the past 2 days. So, and I relate to almost everything that's been shared by my colleagues that have just presented before. So it's, yeah, quite honored. So, last presentation of the day. I'm going to be easy on you. I've got lots of images, and I will bring you to a place called Île de la Madeleine, which is a small archipelago located in eastern Canada, which is part of the Quebec province. I would invite you actually to look it up on your phone, Île de la Madeleine with Google Map, just to get a better view of where we're located, because we had so many slides that we could share with you. And unfortunately, I don't have one locating precisely the Île de la Madeleine in my presentation with you this afternoon. So just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you've been to Canada before. Okay, and how about Quebec? Yeah, well, there you go. So my name is Jason. I work in a regional tourism, very small DMO located, of course, in Île de la Madeleine, and a team of 8 people. I thought we were pretty small, but talking with some of you in the past couple days, I realized that, oh, well, we're not that small. Some of you are smaller, teams of 2, 3 people. We're a passionate group of people, and our DMO's mission, and it's been the same for the past 20 years. Our vision is basically to foster tourism development in harmony with the community. Now, the Île de la Madeleine, before we get into tourism, is first and foremost a fishing community, lobster fishing, which will actually start in a week and a half. Lots of snow crab also, and many more. So, 13,000 population, 6 islands, mainly French-speaking. So preparing for this presentation, I realized how fortunate we are considering the length of stay, 10 plus nights, and it's been very stable for many years, and I've narrowed it down to these 4 key elements that are really relevant to our situation, which are geography and access, of course, lodging, your tourism offering, of course, and hospitality. So I thought it'd be interesting to share with you, I've mentioned how stable the length of stay has been for so long. It's so stable that the municipality on the islands considered the length of stay to determine the cost of a new tourist tax that's going to come into place as of May 1st, so in a week and a half, which is a big talk of the town right now back home. And so thinking with this logic in mind, thinking, okay, well, people stay an average 10 days, so if we invite our visitors to contribute $30 at the end of their stay, more or less $3 per day, then that's not too much to ask, considering we have 300 kilometers of beaches all around the islands and many parking, everything is free. But it has a cost, of course, on the municipality and the residents. For example, challenges like waste management, because we have to export our waste on the mainland, and that represents 18% of the municipality budget. So it's just an example of how the new tourist tax will contribute to sustainable development on the islands. That, and also maintaining and developing recreational infrastructure, both for residents and visitors, of course, and implementing a regional park. So here's a closer look of the archipelago. To give you a sense of scale, the islands are about 100 kilometers long. So you don't come through the islands, right? Access-wise, we're linked to another island called Prince Edward Island. So it's a 5-hour ferry crossing to make it to the islands. And more or less a 2 to 3 hour flight from our main markets, Quebec and Montreal City. So we really are a destination, and people have to earn their way to Île de la Madeleine. So that partially explains why people stay at least a week, and some way longer, 2 and 3 and 4 weeks. So like I mentioned, we're accessible by ferry. It's a 5-hour crossing. There's an airport. And also we have cruise ships that mainly smaller size vessels. We greeted about 20, 25 cruise ships last year. Okay, so yeah, time flies. Lodging. So this is, of course, lodging on the islands is mainly houses. Residents rent their house to visitors during the summer, and that's been the main accommodation for for 50 years. So that's really part of our destination's DNA. Ever since the first roll-on, roll-off ferry was implemented back in the 70s, and which really contributes to the length of stay, because people basically require visitors to rent a house for at least a week. So that kind of conditions the length of stay. And we also, of course, have hotels, camping, and people stay at parents and friends, but that counts for less. Oh, there we go. That was the lodging. Yeah. And the offering, of course, is important. There's such a high concentration of activities on the Île de la Madeleine. So there's and I also want to highlight, because I mean, all of you have so many activities, of course, and that alone doesn't explain the length of stay. But we try and focus more and more on niche experiences off-season to extend the season. For example, kite surfing and wind sports in general. People will come to the islands. It's a very windy place, especially for this, and will generally stay 2-3 weeks, sometimes even longer. And hiking also during spring and fall, because we have a 230-kilometer network of trails that goes around the islands. So that's something we're encouraging, slow tourism, and discovering the islands at your own pace. And last but not the least, hospitality. The islands have a really strong hospitality reputation in Quebec. This has been, he and his sons run the last smokehouse in the archipelago. He's a staple figure in our destinations, so we don't only have colorful houses, but we also have many colorful characters, and I know you all do, and they play an important part in attracting longer stays in our destinations, don't they? And so on the islands, locals are proud and act as ambassadors of the destination. They want to be involved, and believe me, residents in the Île de la Madeleine are very engaged, and there's that sense of pride in wanting to share our culture and our laid-back way of life. Plays an important role in making people wanting to stay longer and on the islands. So a couple of key takeaways before I leave the stage. Identify your assets, right? It's all about highlighting what makes you different. In our case, we're remote. The access is challenging. We have a long history of hospitality and a unique offering. Encourage a complimentary offer. So that, easier said than done. That brings less competition and more collaboration. Make it worthwhile for visitors to stay and come back. And also, we've heard this, right, throughout the day, today and yesterday, residents and stakeholders are your best ambassadors. So how can we nourish our relationships? So thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks very much as well. Stay with us, don't leave the stage, but I would like to invite the rest of the crew as well to come here on stage now. So, please, Linda, go into the center. So we have a couple of minutes left, so please fill Slido. But I would like to address a first question. Addressing to you like doing an exam at the university. I'm allowed to do so. The three of you representing islands, it looks like, well, it's easy to have a long stay of 9, 10, 11 days, because the traveling there is so long that it makes no sense to have a one-night stay, just like in Gothenburg, 1.6 nights. Huh? If I would place you as DMO managers in Berlin, London, Paris, Barcelona, and so forth, could you transfer activities and learnings from the places you represent now to these places where there are hundreds of flights coming in, even from target group that you don't want to address, even with the best marketing, as we have heard? Can you give some insights or learnings to people that represent cities? Who wants to go for the exam first?
I can start. I
thanks.
think in many ways the approach is the same if you want to extend the duration of stay from whether you're on an island or a continental country. It's through strategic marketing. You want to identify your clients, identify your preferred visitors, and also then build a bridge between your offering and them, and then deliver the right marketing. And I think in general, it is more or less the same approach. But we are, us islanders, we deal with other issues as well. Like in Iceland, we are placed right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and a lot of the visitors are people who are traveling from North America to Europe with a stopover in Iceland only for a couple of days. So that does have an impact on the duration of stay. It sort of keeps it a little bit down. And also we have mentioned how seasonality is important and how we are trying to extend the season and develop winter tourism. And that, in itself is a bit shorter duration. We've had great success in Iceland with winter travel, but that also holds the duration of stay a little bit down. But in general, I think the approach is more or less the same.
Anyone to confirm?
I have to agree with what you've just mentioned. I think communication is key in just reaching out to your target clients and perhaps showcasing those experiences that foster longer stays and enabling people to connect perhaps with locals in your destination.
Okay. Voluntary answer? I don't force anyone.
No, I agree. I think when you look at some of the things that I was just sort of mentioning earlier before about authenticity and using that to talk about your people, your culture, and the reason why people should come and visit and experience that. And I also think the power of storytelling to enable dispersal of that tourism to outer regional areas has a significant impact, and that's what we're seeing essentially in our destination. So yeah, I think it's more or less the same. Yeah.
Nevertheless, we have obviously a difference between West Sweden, the landscape, the rural area more than city of Gothenburg. Quite a difference. We heard from you, Linda. No chance to make a longer stay in Gothenburg?
A longer stay? Well, we work very hard on developing, or we have focused a lot on developing activities, products in the nature-based products, activities like hiking, cycling, and those kind of reasons to travel, reasons to come to us. We're working with events to fill gaps and to get people to stay longer. Communication, again, is very important, where we sit down together with the local businesses to discuss when to fill capacity and listen to their day-to-day life and challenges, and then we can agree on a way forward so everybody can commit into creating this. The destination has to be attractive for a number of days, and then many companies need to pitch in with different things, because you need to activate the visitors for several days.
Okay, let's move to the audience. Have a look at the numbers of sums. 5 is the maximum. The audience seems to be tired, getting tired. The session before we had 11, 12, 14, and now it's maximum is 4, 5. Nevertheless, let's go into the first one. Oh, now a new leader. Iceland was quite popular before COVID. Weren't there any over-tourism issues already? How do you local residents perceive the new longer stay options? Fantastic question.
Good question. How do I know? 1, 2, 3. Nobody can hear me. Sorry, I can't answer.
Yeah, give him the micro. Can you shout? As
Thank you for a great question. Rika, where are you? No? Well, yes. Yes, Iceland was quite popular before COVID, and on in a second. Second has passed. Weren't there any over-tourism issues? Over-tourism. It's a tricky topic. It's a tricky word, over-tourism. Over what? And, you know, if we don't agree on the limits of acceptable change, it's difficult to talk about over-tourism. Are we talking about over travelers themselves? You know, are they not happy? Are we talking about the visitors? Sorry, the residents? Are we talking about nature? So we have to. It's a word that's been used a lot, and I'm sometimes confused with it. I read an article not so long ago from a very respected professor saying over-tourism does not exist. So I was like, let's read that one. But right, we had issues. We have actually more issues now after COVID than before COVID. Speaking about the local residents, because they are put forward here. We were a little bit before COVID like the frog in the pot, you know, things had been quite fast, but still, you know, there was not much noise made from the locals. However, after COVID, when the country had been empty from tourists, in just over 1 year, it went up from almost no one up to 2 million. So obviously, we had some issues. The media loved talking about it and loved talking about over-tourism and so on. So this is something that we are dealing with. We are trying to have an honest discussion with the people of Iceland about the challenges of tourism. And there definitely are challenges. And we do sense some sort of resentment from travelers. From locals. But if you look at the travelers, because we at the Icelandic Tourist Board, we monitor their satisfaction levels. The Net Promoter Score of Iceland is almost 80. It's a world-class number. And only inferior of 2% say that Iceland did not fulfill their expectations. So over-tourism in the eyes of the travelers, I would challenge that. But in terms of locals, there are some issues there. Sorry, long answer.
Thanks. Does anyone want to add something? Also, it's Iceland. So then have a look at the second question. Do any use, voluntary answer from your side, do any use long stays as an argument for reducing transport emissions, or are the arguments of adding local value stronger? The two of you?
Yeah, on my end, the argument of adding local value is stronger. Yeah, we're not having that this communication just yet regarding reducing transport emissions. So I would argue that, yeah, just people just putting that forward, just the vibe, the island vibe, and is working well for us, really. And people, yeah, just have the opportunity to meet with the locals, and the locals are really genuinely hospitable people, so that is our main asset.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, from where Fiji is, I mean, there's only two ways that you can access Fiji, and that's either by air or sea. And when I was mentioning very, very briefly about the Blue Lane initiative, this initiative actually got the economy through during the pandemic. And we realized the significance of what it brought, not only to our country, but to the regional areas. So there's been a real focus for us to promote this Blue Lane initiative, because essentially and I forgot to mention this, that what we saw coming out of the pandemic, that an average sailboat or a yacht went from 4 weeks to about 8.6. So they were spending longer time around Fiji and exploring it. And I think there's a lot of value in that, in trying to promote that which is low impact to the environment and essentially high yield. So that's one avenue that we're working towards trying to grow more of, is this Blue Lane initiative, obviously.
So we're run over the time already. You didn't behave the Swiss way, by the way, huh? So that's why we're too late already. So, but that's a joke. One final question, because the first buses will leave soon. there is a permanent discussion now when it comes to CO2 emissions. These long-haul flights bring normally guests that stay longer. But the CO2 emission aspect is against these long-haul flight guests. Would you, the 4 destinations, be willing to eliminate the long-haul source markets due to these CO2 emissions, battling the aspect of having the guests longer?
Well, we actually decided a couple of years ago with the Stepping Up Sustainability strategy to focus our marketing within the closer markets. With that said, everybody is still welcome to come to West Sweden, and we will take good care of everyone, but our marketing money and our efforts go to areas where we have direct flights and where we are reachable by train.
Okay.
And we have done several promotions together with tour operators, press, media, influencers in the UK, for example, where we have shown that you can even take the train all the way from London to Gothenburg. And then the trip itself is a journey, is part of your experience.
So you did it already? Who wants to answer this question?
Well, visitors
Yeah,
mainly come to Ile de la Madeleine with the ferry. That counts for 2/3 of our visitors. And we're working on a project to, maybe in a year or two, provide the opportunity to visitors to compensate locally. But that's work in progress.
Leigh, you had a deep breath when I was asking this question. Give us the final...
Okay, so my thoughts on this is that I think there needs to be a balanced approach to this. Firstly, our airline is exploring the possibility of SAF. That's one aspect of it. To look at it, do we want to have more longer stays in Fiji as a result of that? One of the things that we're starting to see is the displacement of people in rental homes, because essentially Airbnb is obviously taking off in Fiji. And what we're seeing is that the price of rental properties are going up to cater for longer stays that are happening. So I think there needs to be a balanced approach. We haven't quite yet worked out how to do that. I don't know if that really answers your question, but I think it's an ongoing discussion.
Get in touch with the ones that smile now, huh?
Yes.
We're laughing. You wish to add something?
No. Well, if people want to come, we will take good care of you, and you are welcome to Iceland. From wherever you come from. So, no, I don't think I would say yes to that question. But I have faith in progress. I have faith in the future. So, yeah. But Iceland actually is not that far. It's only 2 hours and 45 minutes from London. It's not a long haul flight. You have the impression of being really far, however, when you come to Iceland. So, yeah, I don't know if that's an answer, but yeah, I'll say pass.
Well, this is an ongoing debate in Switzerland now that Switzerland tourism should skip the long-haul markets, no marketing anymore there because of the CO2. So, but we are in Central Europe. Thank you very, very much for your insight, your expertise, your sharing, to all of you coming from so far and from the neighborhood. We're over the time. Sorry for that. My final information should pop up here on the screen. I should recommend you that there will be buses standing outside from 5:15, bringing you towards Djurgården and Hasselbecken. There will be several buses in a row after, always when the bus is full, the next one will be filled. So from 5:15 onwards. We invite you for the dinner at 7 o'clock, and afterwards at the bar in Hasselbecken, we can make the day a bit longer at the Hallborg meetup from 11 to 12. Thank you very much for being with us.